I think that so many candidates half-ass the interview process and they don't prepare for it. This is your shot. Going back to what I said earlier, you got to take your shot. And you need to plan your work and work your plan. It sounds cliche, but the job search process is harder than any job you've ever had. So if you get through the door, you get to that resume, that first recruiter screen, you better prepare. The two worst things that a candidate could do: one, not prepare, not research your organization, and just phone it in. You cannot do that. And the last thing, if you're not prepared with questions, as a recruiter, when I get to the end of an interview and I go, "Hey, do you have any questions for me?" and they say no, it's almost like a giant like fail, do not pass, ghost stamp right on it. It shows that you weren't listening and you really don't care.
Do you have any general questions that usually work in those moments that impress you?
So it's a good question, because when I've done candidate coaching, I think that a good question to ask is, what does success look like in this role in the first 30, 60, 90 days? Because that's going to tell you a couple things. One, is the company prepared to properly onboard you and give you time to warm up into the role, or are you being thrown into the fire? And a good company will be transparent. They'll say, "Hey, listen, we're short-staffed. We're throwing you right into the fire. Is this something that you're prepared for?" So I think that's critical from a candidate standpoint. Another good question is, like, tell me a little bit more about the hiring manager. What's their work style? How do they like to operate? Are they micromanagers? Are they very hands-on? Why? Or it's a tough question to say, why did the last person not work out in this role? Because that's opening up a can of worms. So you have to be mindful about reading the room and thinking about who your audience is.
And we're talking about tips for the job seekers, but what are the tips now for these companies trying to stand out? You mentioned a lot of people seem like there are no jobs, but that will change. So what can companies do to set themselves apart to say, "Hey, we are a great company to work at," or like you mentioned in another case, "These are the hours and this is the work, but if that's for you, we're here."
Empower your employees to create content on LinkedIn and other social media platforms. Genuine, authentic, user-generated content. Not giving them a script, not giving them, templates, graphic templates to use, but saying, "Hey, we trust you. If you feel you want to say good things about us, go for it." Empower them to do that. That is key. There's no better advocate for your brand than a current employee.
And I feel like in the past, companies never wanted you to talk about work on social media.
Never.
I'm a millennial. I'm from the age that was like you had to have a different Facebook name so
Oh, yeah.
companies wouldn't look what you did up in your personal time.
We
Where you
don't
wouldn't
want to
get
know your
hired.
Facebook name, do we?
It's so wild to me to see the changes of people actually putting their resumes on social media now, when we were told social media is the opposite. You do not want anyone looking at that. So are companies now learning that you need to let your employees talk about their job and show what the offices look like? Our companies should be doing this, you're saying?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the best way, I'm a big believer in show versus tell. And that comes through in various forms of content. And again, empowering your team to put it out there. Show a day in the life. Day in the life content's fantastic right now.
I know it seems like I always hear the influencers who leave their jobs, people don't find them as entertaining anymore.
Something like that.
All right, so now looking ahead a little bit about what you have coming up. So we have that Transform conference that you're going to. Can you tell us a little bit about it for viewers who may not know?
Yeah, so for me, the Transform conference is the Super Bowl of our industry. It's fantastic. It's incredibly well done, well produced. But I think the star of Transform, well, there's two stars. One is the venue. There's no better venue in Vegas than the Wynn. There's a vibe to it. There's an energy. It's contagious. It's not your concrete exposition halls. There's a warmth to it. It's good, and there's a vibe, and it's great to have all your old friends and meeting new friends together at one event. So I'm going to give a little alpha here and announce I'm doing two things.